Isn't everyone racist on some level?
No, that's gonna get you doxxed.
Yes, but excuse my language. Sorry for my
Sigma shit.
Capitalism has turned everything into symbols, signs of what they once were. So everything's kind of a meme.
Like Skibbity or Rizzler or like Ohio or Yacht.
There's like Grimace Shake,
Robust Gatekeep. What's the third one?
Demure, Giga Chad.
Yeah, Giga Chad. Calm down, liberals. It's called dark humor.
White supremacy in philosophy. Do you have an opinion on that?
You're arguing against it, right?
But ironically, I'm against it.
Oh yeah. So unironically, if I have to do a devil's advocate thing,
Okay.
maybe something about how reactionary type thought is good for discourse as a pushback to progressive ideals and keeping traditional stances alive. Not to kill my own argument, that's kind of ignoring the white supremacist, white nationalist part. If I had to say something for that, it's kind of tough because I'm not white.
Well, your character is, right? Whiteface.
You know, he's white, less in a racial sense and more of an archetypal sort of abstract sense, I'd say. Racial traditions as if they were ethnic. To give you something to argue against, say it's a good thing.
Well, if you think about it, there's like liberal supremacy. Liberal supremacy kills ideas through censorship, but white supremacy is based on like emotions that are unchecked and ununderstood. The individual themselves has racist predispositions that aren't true.
Do you think there is such a thing as white culture? Especially, are you American? Are you like you from the US?
Yeah, I'm from Maine.
I'm around the tri-state area, like Pennsylvania. So do you think that, especially within the context of the US, that like white culture is a thing?
There's cultural phenomena, I'd say, that align with white people. And there are white people who try to claim and gatekeep. I don't agree with doing that, but I mean, being goth, a tarot card, I don't know, stuff like that.
It's this sort of European melting pot that happened over time in the US, especially with talking about black people specifically, of course, with the history of slavery and everything like that, and them always being a distinct group. That white culture has always been, in some sense, reactionary to black culture, and in a weird way, they're sort of symbiotic, especially with how like black culture has sort of taken over the mainstream with things like, you know, vernacular and hip hop.
Kai Cenat just did a stream with iCarly. There's like different precipices where those waves clash.
It's like those memes. Like I saw one. Yeah, it was iCarly, like the iCarly cast and Tupac. Like this jarring juxtaposition of what people consider, for lack of better term, clean white culture and then the like rough edge black culture. I think that, you know, it's just embedded in people, especially in the US. Like even me as a person of color growing up, I was surrounded by white people. Like I said, I live in Pennsylvania and like not a very city type area. So it's just like white people. And like I grew up associating, especially because I'm light skinned, like, and like mixed, like black people, especially of darker skin color, with like, you know, thug activities, going against the grain and stuff like that, which has taken me a long time and is still like something that I'm working through.
I just think of the show The Office when I think of Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, Scranton.
The way certain black people are depicted in that show is very specific, I would say.
That's a big part of comedic sort of situations, especially in white media, when it tackles the subject of black people. The go-to thing is like, white people don't understand black people, and black people kind of roll their eyes at that. You know, it's kind of obvious why that's like such a popular joke to attack. It's because it's, you know, true. Actually, I'm working on a video right now where I'm gonna do a tier list of celebrities doing blackface. You know, it figures, but all of the situations that I've pretty much found are comedy actors doing a comedic sort of thing where they do blackface and it's like black people are like, is this okay?
I don't know if you read Carl Jung, but like the shadow self of the comedians accidentally slips out sometimes through their profession, because it's one of those things where they're trying to tap into unspoken, relatable narratives with people, but sometimes they accidentally let out something that's just them. Just get black people on the writing team.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Carl Jung. It was a little while ago, but I read Archetypes, and that's definitely one of the things. And it's like the jester archetype that like points out the sort of inconsistencies and like fallacies and like truths and like upheld beliefs and stuff like that. And like, you know, one of them being like inherent racism. And it's something that I actually think about quite a bit, considering my position is I call myself like a person of color who's like white coded, and even like the more what was considered like progressive in a comedic sense. Things of like modern time, like 30 Rock. Have you ever seen 30 Rock?
Yeah.
Like Tracy Morgan's character is just like the most, it is that like outrageous black character that like white people don't understand. And it's like making fun of that, but also it just is that. I'm sure you're familiar with Zizek. His whole thing about like doing like racial jokes and breaking those sort of taboos to have like unrequited like friendliness with people, you know, getting to engage with someone on a deeper level. I've had to sort of use as a tool, whether I liked it or not, being sort of the token black kid. It's like I've seen like spectrum of how those social interactions can be super positive and progressive or really reductive and regressive.
Can go either way.
Definitely, you know, it depends who you're talking to or how you engage with them, where you'll let them take you, especially like me talking from my perspective of like a person of color talking to a white person. It's like, you know, having to maybe put up boundaries when it comes to that, or dissolving those boundaries to see what's the bottom line, you know, sort of a litmus test for racism and like how regressive their ideals are. I'm black and I have to be worried about, you know, white people and like, you know, like white cops or like cops in general. And it's like breaking that down too and not being like, oh, white people, especially the quote unquote white women. And that's more of a liberal thing too, like the sort of I don't see color racism.
It's so anti-racist that it's like racist.
It comes full circle, or shoe theory.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I'm white woman. You know, I'm like white woman woke.
Yeah, I have the insecurity that I'm just like racist.
Isn't everyone racist on some level?
That's the $1 million question. And I think yes. It's just like the inherent, you know, tribal mindset. But also there's a huge argument for it being taught. And that's definitely a really big part of it. But that's only if you're exposed to people of different races, I feel like, in your upbringing. Because if you grow up your whole life surrounded by white people and you see like a black person, you'd be like, that's a fucking alien. Like, what the hell?
People think they're liberal when they encounter actual black people or actual black culture on like a legitimate scale. All these like racist predispositions come out.
I don't know if false dichotomy is the right term. They put that threshold of like them being the oppressors and, you know, black people being the oppressed, that they just sort of completely invert the power structure, which I don't think is like a prevalent problem, like as prevalent as reactionaries might say, like with things like DEI or wokeness in general. It's just this ideal that it's what reactionaries think is going to happen. It's like, you know, oh, because DEI exists, we're going to have planes fall out of the fucking sky because black women don't know how to pilot. And the argument from reactionaries is like, you know, affirmative action is just going to lower the threshold of professionalism just because you're a certain color, certain minority or marginalized group, that you're going to get a job over a white straight male.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, there's no proof that cultural oversaturation or diversity or whatever leads to like a drop in quality. Like, obviously, why would black female pilots be any worse than white male pilots?
You know, it gets boiled down on their side to like white genocide, like all of the white people are disappearing, when it's like that's not actually happening.
Even if it was, what is really going away? Thanos snapped his finger and like all white people went away. It's not like humanity would die.
Yeah, and it's just because, you know, everybody, it's just the natural process of evolution. Like everybody's going to assimilate at some point, I guess, you know, it's the
singularity.
Yeah, it's like the racial singularity. It's like an inevitability, I think, especially in the US where there's, you know, so many diverse people.
The like basic physical characteristics don't really matter that much anymore. It's more like what movies you like or what bands you listen to is how we bond now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Capitalism has turned everything into symbols, signs of what they once were. So everything's kind of a meme, and that makes for good things and also bad things. My argument today was like philosophy on the internet turns into like parody, and that's why I don't even think it's real white nationalism. I think it's just people doing that. I mean, there's an episode of Batman, I think it is, where Batman and Superman like switch costumes when Lex Luthor tries to use kryptonite, but it doesn't work because it's actually like Batman because he was posing as something he wasn't. I don't know if you know Nick Fuentes or Milo Yiannopoulos.
Unfortunately.
Maybe I'm just I'm making a category error by placing Nick Fuentes or the Groypers in the category of e-philosophers. Like the Hegelian e-girls, the e-philosophers, they're magnetized to the Groyper movement.
Yeah, definitely. And with like the memification, like the power they have over memes, and like what happened to like, you know, with like Pepe or even like Soy Jack. It must be just some potent archetypal fascistic quality that they're tapping into the collective unconscious.
It's like the juxtaposition between the evil and the non-serious.
This is the thing too, it's like with how much like humor is influenced by it, and how they have that scapegoat of like, you know, if they say something that's really edgy or racy, like your body, my choice. It's like, calm down, liberals. It's called dark humor. No, that's like, you can't, in a certain context, on a more interpersonal level, someone could say that and it could definitely be a joke. But when it's somebody like Nick Fuentes, the like head honcho Groyper, it's like, no, that's gonna get you doxxed. Could you even perceive that as a joke? Like, it is questionable.
Literally, it's not, because of the law that he wants to change.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so unethical. It's eroding our culture.
Yeah, it's like irony poisoning.
Useful term.
Do you know J-Reg?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a term he coined.
Maybe he coined that term, but he's guilty of that irony poisoning, I think. It's like Tony Hinchcliffe or something, like comedians that are too...
Or like Sam Hyde.
Yeah, I mean, I like MD humor very much, but some of the shit, like, I wouldn't show Sam Hyde to my mom or girlfriend or whatever. I wouldn't even tell them I like Sam Hyde. Just kind of a red flag thing.
I struggle with this because I actually I worked with him a little bit. He filmed this World Peace, the second season, and he put out like calls for like people to do that shit and to do that show and shit like that. And it hasn't come out yet, so I haven't had to answer to any people who, you know, might question that, but I'm preparing for it.
Yeah, it got canceled, right?
What?
World Peace.
Oh yeah, the first season got taken out or like got canceled from Adult Swim because of, you know, him being Sam Hyde, and so they did it independently. Like they did the second season independently, and that's what I went up to like act in. It was pretty open. Like basically they would just like look at your Instagram and make sure that you weren't like a schizo posting like Nazi, and you know, they'd let you pull up.
I'm trying to get on Fish Tank, so that's good to know.
Good luck. I think you're too level-headed.
That's just one of my personalities.
Okay, I see. You're masked.
Yeah, we should get on Fish Tank together. Teach everyone about Zizek and stuff. That'd be fun.
I actually got to see him live in Jersey, like speak. It was really funny. I went up to him afterwards for a picture. Like as soon as he was done, like the Q&A, everybody like stormed the stage, and I was like the first person to like go up to him, and I was like, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And he was like, he said,
"Yes, but excuse my language. Sorry for my face.
I can edit it.
And he was like, "Oh, I love this photo manipulation. Can you put my head on a very muscular body?"
And I was like, "Yeah, for sure, man."
That was crazy.
I have that picture. It's just me. And it's funny because you know, I filmed it to the live thing, and my friend was taking the picture, and he was like, "Do I smile? Do I not smile? I don't know. These things are so..." And then I was like, "Smile," and he was like, "Oh, fuck you." I was like, it was a highlight of my life for sure.
Yeah, I heard he's not doing interviews with people anymore on the internet, so I'm probably never gonna like see him or talk to him, most likely.
Just go to Slovenia, man.
Slovenia.
Just look for him.
Do you know those videos? Kind of unrelated, but you know those videos where it's like some guy working out in the gym and there's text on it, like that says something like, I hate myself every day, all day, on God.
Sigma shit.
Meme power, mimetic power. People on the right or the neoreactionaries kind of have that. But then there are also echo chambers of the internet or cultural spaces that aren't political at all that also have meme power. And I think people like Zizek, I would say, are a really good example of being able to visualize all those cultural bricks, cultural characteristics, and then like pick and choose, like grab which ones you want to include in your rationality or your philosophy.
Do you watch meme analysis?
No, I don't think so. On YouTube?
Yeah, he's on YouTube. With how you're talking about memes, I thought that you might have been a fan. Yeah, he did one recently on Skibbity Toilet, and how it relates to slime, like slime content, because he relates that with like this Freudian idea of like the juvenile sort of desire to play with shit, like play with feces.
Wow.
And like how, you know, obviously Skibbity Toilet being a toilet like relates to that.
That's what Carl Jung would be doing in modern times.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like I really believe that there are going to be like meme history and meme analysis, like college courses in the future.
Good measure of culture.
Absolutely. And like I always love checking in on that there's one meme where it's like the meme eras, and it's like, you know, 2014 to 2016, like MLG era, and like the different, like the surrealist era, like the post irony era.
Oh yeah, the brain rot era.
Yeah, that's what we're in right now, the brain rot era, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it just becomes so hyper real and cacophonous that it's just like my with how I see like Gen Alpha memes, it's just like they're just pure symbology, like shit that is like it's like circular meaning, like saying stuff like Skibbity or Rizzler or like Ohio or Gyat. It's like it like just completely lacks, you know, context, and is devoid of inherent meaning. And it's just kind of like a sock puppet with no hand inside.
In what sense?
Just like it's just like a body. What's it's a Deleuzian concept. I'm trying to
body without organs, I think.
That body without organs, which I'm not going to say I fully understand. Like, I have a copy of Anti-Oedipus, but Lord knows I've barely fucking cracked that thing. I don't know. I'm still like wrapping my head around like all the Gen Alpha sort of meme culture stuff.
Yeah, me too. There's still a lot that's unexplainable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, do you remember that video? It came out a long time ago now, but it was that guy that like took the brim off his Yankees hat.
Yankee with no brim.
There's something philosophical there. It's like a metaphor for the turn that memes. Like the hat, the way he took out an element from the hat and it added more. It's kind of like a metaphor for the memes in general.
Well, a form I was really familiar with, you know, in relation to that meme is like Yankee with no brim, brim with no Yankee, Yankee with brim, no Yankee, no brim. And it's just like this like categorization, political compass of memification.
Right. Self-evolved or something, like permutations self-evolved from it. Yeah. There's like Grimace Shake. I don't even know. Yeah,
Grimace Shake. Meme analysis actually did one on this. Grimace Shake, he equated to like Moloch and just like a dark, like consuming presence and idol.
Moloch, like the demon of acceleration or whatever. That's a really interesting thing too. Like Terence McKenna talks about a graph where like,
oh fuck yeah. Terence McKenna mentioned.
I haven't read Anti-Oedipus either, but the Body Without Organs, Terence McKenna talks about something similar. It's like a graph where it's like everything's accelerating and it's getting so complex that it will eventually reach a point where if you're looking at it like a graph, the line is so vertical that complexity just starts falling off the side.
I listened to so much Terence McKenna, but one thing like he says that I really like to hear him talk about is like how especially if you're an artist, like culture is the enemy, and like culture is just sort of this like ever growing well that you kind of, it's like Plato's cave, like you end up in this like hole that if you really want to like experience firsthand phenomenon and like be able to like be a firsthand sorts of things, you kind of have to crawl out of.
It narrows your perception rather than widens it. Culture, like Plato's cave. My question today was like is white supremacy bad for e-philosophy? I would say there's two like cultures mixing. There's like e-philosophy is its own culture, and I would say that should remain concrete. But then the subcultures of e-philosophy, there's a danger because they're echo chambers, and so there can be white supremacist e-philosophers, and that's dangerous. So something to be said about keeping the culture general so that you're not limiting yourself.
Robust gatekeep. What's the third one?
Demure. I don't know. I have no idea. Giga Chad.
Yeah, Giga Chad. It's funny. Earlier you mentioned the Hegelian e-girls. I only found out about them last night.
Yeah, they are really legit, I think, the e-girls themselves.
It's definitely a coalition that needs to get propped up and to combat the reactionary. What do you call them, neo-reactionaries?
Yeah, I would. That's a Landian term or whatever, but it's very accurate. Dark Enlightenment, yes.
Wait, Landian?
Yeah, Nick Land, I think, created that term, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not familiar with him.
Oh, yeah, he's really like pivotal kind of for me, but there's a lot of interviews. He's still alive, but he himself follows some of my friends on Instagram, and like Nikki the Hegelian, or the center figure of the Hegelian e-girl council, she's fallen into that trap, at least superficially, or ironically, she's fallen into that trap of the Groypers, like the alt-right. I think through Landian like rationality, he created the idea of like pioneered the idea of like capitalist like technocracy, or I guess, or like accelerationism. When anybody talks about accelerationism, chances are they've based it off of Nick Land. And that's what neo-reactionaries are. They want to like push past this point in history, but by any means. So they'll accelerate like racism, they'll accelerate all these tensions just to maybe get to a point in history where everything's settled at the other side. Accelerate space travel is a big thing too. Another thing accelerationists argue for, like Elon Musk is probably a neo-reactionary, and I would label him that because he's arguing to push for space travel rather than like slow it down and regulate it.
And you said Nikki is falling into this, the one Hegelian girl?
Yeah, she's a MAGA. She's like a Trump supporter now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, it's crazy that, like, I mean, like Joe Rogan is an example. And I know people who have this position. It's like in 2020, they were like Bernie bros, and now they're just like MAGA.
It's very weird.
And it's like, it's just that populist rhetoric, I think, it really speaks to the people.
Just whatever's cool, really.
Yeah, we get to know all these people, and like you see their Instagrams and you're like, whoa, this shit is like just straight up like can't even dispute racism. Funny because they'll be so nice. They'll be so nice to me, a darkie. And then it turns out that they think that, black people are just inherently more violent.
There's kind of a Trojan horse situation there where influencers find out that they're cultivating like a racist audience.
Sam Hyde is like his audience is like a breeding ground for that. Also because he's, not a reactionary, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, like, definitely don't, like, subscribe to, his political views and all that stuff. A lot of talk about, like, Jews